Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai, for being here with us. It's really hard to do a quick introduction given his profile, but Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai is a PhD from the University of Mumbai, Department of Philosophy. He trains leaders across fields such as the business world, politics, academia, and military. He's done an extensive research on Kautilya's Arthashastra and published over 22 books, one of which has been launched earlier today. He's written over 200 articles and papers for various magazines and journals, and also has a radio talk show called Ask Chanakya. He's taught in Germany, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Singapore, Indonesia, UK, including the Oxbridge. Dr. Pillai's first book has been a bestseller, launched in 2010. He's since launched 21 books, including with the ex-DGP of Maharashtra Police, Mr. D. Shivanandan. He's a visiting faculty in prestigious institutions in India and abroad, such as IIT, IIM, IISc, among others. He also gives lectures in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. He was also rated among the top 30 Indian management thinkers globally by Thinker50.com. This is an extremely truncated introduction among a long list of achievements of Dr. Pillai. Over to you, Dr. Pillai. Thank you for being here with us.
So, leadership and public policy from Chanakya's standpoint. What is the meaning of leadership, according to you? And do you know how this word came out? Today we are the generation of patenting, right? So, who can patent the word leadership? Think about it. Because that is connected to public policy. And you'll be surprised, the Navy. You see two words, leader and ship. That's how it's originated. In the olden days, people used to go from one country to another in ships. And ships were used for trading, for travel, and also for many other things. And India was the sea capital of the world. There is no other country in the world which has got an ocean named on that country. Indian Ocean. True or no? So if you are interested in all these Pirates movie, what's that? Caribbean? Yeah, Pirates of Caribbean. Have you seen those series? So I'm telling you why, because like Swami Vivekananda went from India to America. How? A ship only. And the captain of the ship had a major responsibility. Number one, to make sure you go to the right direction. Somebody said Columbus actually did not come to India. But thoda navigation change ho gaya, he landed up in India. I don't know. Or maybe he wanted to come to India and he landed up in America. That's what they say. I don't know. So one is navigation, the right direction. Second, saving yourself from the pirates. When you're carrying so many people, goods and all, you may get looted, right? So that's also leadership. And the most important, make sure your people are safe. And I don't know how many of you have naval backgrounds here? Anybody? I work with the Navy, that's why. There's a simple rule. The captain of the ship goes last. Are you aware of this? Have you seen the movie Titanic? So the captain cannot leave the ship. He has to make sure everybody, suppose the ship is sinking, he has to make sure everybody is safe, sabko nikalo, but you die with the ship. You cannot live with the ship. Even if you can, if the ship is sinking, you have to sink with the ship. It is not a Titanic story. Go and study naval, leadership stories across the world. In fact, in Delhi, I met an interesting lady. Her father was part of the 1971 war. Remember that war? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh formation, all. So, her father was a captain of a ship. And that ship sunk. And everybody was safe. Then saying, why did not the captain come out of the ship? No, it is not supposed to. You are trained to die along with the ship. So, the history of leadership starts with going to uncharted territories and of course achieve the goal or the destination. Now coming back to today's generation, we use leadership in various ways. Corporate leadership, political leadership. In fact, surprisingly, 10 years ago, leadership meant only political leadership. Right? So, देश का नेता, अरे बहुत सारे नेता है. You can have industrial leaders, isn't it? You can have leaders in the field of arts. So what I will try and do is that I will give you 2-3 qualities of leadership from Chanakya, and then I will talk about public policy. There are 52 qualities of a leader given in the Arthashastra, not 1 or 2. Now people will wonder, itna sara kahan pe hai? It is in a chapter called as Vinaya Adhikarikam. So anybody who is interested can note it. Arthashastra has got 15 books. The first book is the topic of training of a leader. So if you have leadership qualities, that is not enough. You have to be trained. So a lot of people say, I am a born leader. Remember, even a born leader requires training. Chandragupta Maurya was a born leader. But he cannot become a samrat. He has to be trained, right? So there are a lot of training materials available, and I am trying to use that in the modern day format. But I will give you 3 qualities that you can develop to become a leader. Out of 52, huh? The first one is an interesting quality, and that is also a name of Lord Ganesha. You remember there are various names for Lord Ganesha? What are they? Ganapati? Yes, okay. Vignesh? Vignaharta? In fact, one name is Vinayaka. The one who's got Vinaya. So remember the first quality Chanakya talks about is called Vinaya. That's why the chapter itself is called Vinayadikarikam. Adhikar is not right in Indian culture. It's my right. That is not adhikar. It is ability to become humble. Ability to become humble. People are not humble, they are trained to be humble. For example, let's say you are the captain of a cricket team. Okay? And you have that one ball to hit the sixer to win the match and the World Cup or whatever. And the second player is on 49. And he has to make his first 50 or he is on 99. What will you do? Think about it. As a captain, you want to win that game, right? But remember one thing, the other guy wants to make his 100. So what will you do? Can you do that one small thing? Okay, I may not be the one who will hit that sixer and be called the captain's winning shot, but let that young boy or that girl take his first 100 on this pitch and become the person who won the game. You have to be trained in that. Unfortunately, leaders are trained to take more credits. The team does it and we take it. Good or bad? Good or bad? Not bad, extremely bad. I want you to maybe later on look at speeches of APJ Abdul Kalam. Interestingly, Bangalore was his favorite city. He worked a lot in Bangalore, DRDO. And by the way, many people don't know this, that whenever he speaks about leadership, he used to give examples of Vikram Sarabhai and Satish Dhawan. And he talks about when a mission failed. Now we are celebrating success of Mangalyaan, right? And Aditya L1. But imagine if it did not succeed. In fact, Mangalyaan 2 did not. Remember that? So he's saying during that time also. I hope you have seen Rocket Boys 1 and 2, the web series. Write it down. I think it's Sony Live. Seen it? So others, please share with them. So what happened is that when that mission failed, Satish Dhawan went to the press and said, I am responsible. And when the mission succeeded second time, he actually told Abdul Kalam, you take the credit. It's not easy. You worked hard and you're giving credit to somebody else. But those are the things that you do to become humble. Never take the credit for your success. Give others the credit for our success. A lot of people like this, photograph. I said, you know what? My book has become a bestseller because of the publishers and my teachers. So unfortunately, I don't even have copies today to even give it to sirs. Yesterday, I came to know that 25,000 copies got sold out. Even before release. We actually released it today. The idea is that, do you think I am a great writer? I may be to some extent, but I always remember why. Because my father is a writer. The first example, you should remember that if you have done something very well, and if you are a leader, don't take the credit. Look out for somebody. So if you are a good cook, How many of you are good cooks here? Don't take the credit. Tell my mother was like that. I got it in my genes. Not that you are a bad cook, but if you start taking all the credit, it develops what is called a subtle ego. And the subtle ego can actually become a real ego. Subtle is very small, you don't even understand it. And there's a saying about humility, saying that humility is a strange thing. The moment you think you have it, you have lost it. I'm a very humble person. He's the most arrogant person. So the first quality of leader is being humble. Second, I'm using Sanskrit words for you to explore, because many of the Sanskrit words can't be translated into English. वो बोलता है ना, मातृभाषा और राष्ट्रभाषा का जो डेप्थ होता है, like in Marathi, since I come from Mumbai, any Maharashtrians here or coming from Mumbai or something like that, there is a saying, kama purta mama. You know, that beauty of that words cannot come in English. Kama purta mama, you use and throw that person. I make you a mama when it is required. When you want, make uncle and uncle. Are? So I'll use these three words of leadership. One is Vinaya. Ganapati. Pati means leader. Rashtrapati, Senapati. So one is Vinaya. Second is called Vriddha Sanyogaha. Vriddha means elder and wise. A leader should always be in connection with those who are wiser than him or her. That's the way to control your ego. Because I always think, I'm an expert of Chanakya. Then I come to these conferences. Then I find out there are many experts. Yesterday, I think you should get a chance to watch it on video if possible. There was a person called as Avinash Patwardhan. He was the keynote speaker in our conference. What he told, imagine he was doing research on Chanakya for 48 years. And I used to think, I've done research on Chanakya for 25 years. The moment he started speaking, I said, chup raho. I wrote at least 10 pages on his notes. So if you think you are number one, let me tell you, you are not. There are better people than you in that field. So if you can be in touch with them, vriddho ke sanyog mein. So there's a joke about, slimming. If you want to look slim, surround yourself with people fatter than you. You don't have to go to the gym. So if you want to look humble, don't be humble. Try to surround yourself with people more knowledgeable than you. Right? So it's called Vriddha Sanyoga. And the beauty of Vriddha Sanyoga is that for you it may be a problem. For him it's a joke. Like, in life you'll have different problems. So think about it that you are, let's say, you're in 10th standard. But Vriddha is somebody who has passed 10th standard and topped the class. You go to him and I don't know how to study. He said, do this. For him or her it's a tip. But for you it's a life-changing principle, isn't it true? So Chanakya calls us a very interesting quality called Vriddha Sanyogaha. Life में कोई भी problem बड़ा नहीं होता until unless you have somebody to guide you. So what is your big problem is a small problem for somebody else who solved it once. And third, very interesting quality of a leader is called Anvikshiki. In fact, I would rate it number one quality of a leader. Chanakya says this. It's called Prathama Vidya. Anvikshiki. How many of you heard this word? Scholarly community has. Even I did not know it 25 years ago. It comes as a very interesting word in the Artha Shastra. It says, this is the first training to be given to a king. Anvikshiki, it's called Vidya, knowledge. And I started reading a lot. And I fell in love with that word so much that I named my daughter Anvikshiki. By the way, it is Draupadi's name in Mahabharata. Anvikshiki means enquiry, research, investigation, logic, philosophy. In fact, in Pune, I met a scholar. He is involved in something called as an Anvikshiki project. They found 2000 meanings of one word. You can go on and on. But imagine, today education is equal to literacy. True or no? It's called 3R. Reading, writing and arithmetic. Arithmetic starts with A, but only pronounce. R. But today education has to add the fourth R called research. So reading, writing, arithmetic, theek hai, basic literacy. But are you doing research in your field? You're fortunate to have information on your fingertips. Google, WhatsApp is good. In fact, I used to be an opponent of Google. But I realized one thing is the best thing that you can have. Isn't it true? Nobody can fool you, isn't it true? So I used to always have this debate, Google Devta. I was with IIT Bombay professor of strategy, Ashish Dwivedi. So I told him, this whole generation will be sitting on mobile and not reading books. So research has to be in a laboratory or a library. He said, no. I believe it's an advantage of your generation. Is it an advantage or a disadvantage? It is, because you can get information. Yet, you'll be surprised, information is not research. Information is the beginning of research. That's why the word is research. So let's say, if I want to know the birth date of Amitabh Bachchan, okay, can I Google it? Will I get an answer? Sure? Should I believe it? See, this is where your logic comes in. You can get information, but it may not be right. And by the way, there are a lot of, now techniques in which you can manipulate that. So you say, let's say, I don't know anybody Amitabh Bachchan fan here. What's the birthday of Amitabh Bachchan? I think 11th of October, right? You never know. It could be real or unreal. I don't know. But if Amitabh Bachchan tells you, or Amitabh Bachchan's mother tells you, say, yes, my son was born on 11th of October, but not the date given on Wikipedia. He was born 2 years after that. Whom will you believe? So when you go to research, there are different levels. Primary, secondary, tertiary. So Google is a good information. But you should know how to think. And especially in the world of AI. Artificial intelligence should not be a replacement for natural intelligence. Okay, so this is what the leadership quality is. When you become leaders, you'll be surprised. You'll get a lot of data today. Data is not a problem, right? But what is more important is data analytics. And the way to analyze a situation is Anvikshiki. And Anvikshiki, I will not take a lecture on that because that's a separate topic. I've written a book also on that. It's called Inside Chanakya's Mind, Anvikshiki and the Art of Thinking. So 22 books including this. So if you want to know more about it, you can read it up. That's my version, but of course there are many scholars who have worked on it. So Anvikshiki is a very important component for leadership, researching, thinking, investigating. Because when you get data, how do you know what is right and wrong? That's why Chanakya also said Nyaya. Nyaya means taking decisions, judgments. In the law field, Nyaya means judgment. Isn't it true? Mujhe Nyaya nahi mila. I did not get the right decision. Whatever. Leaders have to be data analyzers, but leaders cannot be limited only to data. You have to go beyond data. And that is Anvikshiki. So quickly summing up 3 points. First quality of a leader, Vinaya. Second, Vriddha, Sanyoga. Third one, Anvikshiki. अब इस पर research करना. सिर्फ Google search नहीं. Let me come to the second one called public policy. How many of you have understood this word in detail? Many people don't. It is not just policy. It's public policy. Actually, it's not one word. It's a combination of 2 words. So let's go on to understand what is public and what is policy. What is policy? Niti. That's a translation. You can translate nothing wrong. Like Chanakya Niti. But what is the meaning of policy? We'll come to public later on. Huh? Let's go to, this is Anvikshiki. You go into detail. What does policy mean? Socha hi nahi. So we are doing public policy. It's good. What is the meaning of policy? Please understand, we are discussing. I'm helping you to think. It is not a lecture where you have to give an exam. Okay, we have time to even discuss and debate also. But let us understand what does policy mean. Your thoughts. A framework? Okay, good. Good, right? Please understand, one word need not have only one meaning. In fact, my teacher used to always tell me, if you can logically prove it, you can add a new dimension to it, isn't it? Like Anvikshiki for me, my contribution is strategic thinking. Nobody actually translated it, but there's a logic. So what does policy mean? Framework? Yes. Please raise your hands if you want to. Yeah. Again, see, now this is where the debate starts. Policy is only for governance? Now let's look at only policy right now. Oh, it's a framework, I agree. Next. What does policy mean? Louder, please. Terms and conditions is policy. Okay. Set of rules, policy. Framework, set of rules. Strategy is policy. Okay. Guidelines. So before you go to public policy, let's say you are taking admission here. Are there policies here? Examples? Admission का एक structure framework होता है कि नहीं होता है? You have to apply, you have to fill up a form, you have to pay the fees, and then you will be given, after all this completion, you will get a certificate. Is that all? Please understand, there is something happens beyond it also. Because this is what the student understands. But let me tell you, can a university, any university, including Chanakya University, introduce any course just like that? What is the behind the scenes? See, there's an educational framework, isn't it true? There's a policy. Then can you just decide, chalo, let's give a course to you, one MBA, one engineering. There is a structure called as Board of Governance, Board of Studies, Academic Council, a lot of technical things, which I think they will say. But we are not aware of it. That's fine. But you have to go through all this. True or no? So in life, if you understand policies, you actually become a better leader. You actually become a better leader. I have seen this. There's a saying, know the rules well before you play the game. But don't just keep studying rules, please play the game. So therefore what happens, a lot of policy makers become very academic. But when they go to the real world, they feel disconnected. True or no? Usko hum bolte kitabi keeda. Nothing wrong, you have to study. In fact, in Marathi, there's a beautiful word for that. It's called abhyasu. We keep studying so much. But the moment he connects to the real world, अरे ये क्या हो गया? Okay, now let's think about public policy together. Yeah, I know. Let us think about public policy together. A policy that is going to affect the public, and especially in the field of governance. Okay, especially in the field of governance is a public policy. And there are many public policies, not one or two. Huh? And of course, the more famous one right now is National Education Policy. We'll just spend 2 minutes and I'll take 2-3 questions. National Education Policy 2020, heard about it? I have some questions. Is it the first public policy of education in India? Is it the first public policy? This policy number? See, research. I like the word third, you can be right and wrong, but the second I'm not sure. Third, I think. In fact, this is the fourth public policy. Do policies change with time? It should. It is not that it must, it should. Because every generation changes, isn't it true? And the framework also has to change. Like for example, the first public policy was about literacy, not education. I don't know, we are lucky, we don't even know the value of graduation till you go outside India. India, everybody is a graduate. True or no? But go abroad. In fact, if you have your passports in many countries, many developed countries, a graduation doesn't require an immigration. It's called immigration check not required. Are you aware of it? So think about it. We were a country where education was only for the elitist. Only the bigger people used to go abroad and study. Now it's a common thing. Then came another public policy. We have to go beyond that. Again, I'm not here looking at only politics, public policy. You'll be surprised. They said we should be global. We require good people who will work in companies. We got a policy where we got international standard education in India, including engineering and management. IIT, IIMs. You remember that generation? Did they produce the right people for the world? Yes. Today IIT, IIM is a brand, isn't it true? So it worked. Maybe some part did not work, I don't know. Right now, there's a different public policy, and the whole idea, if you study the public policy, it's about taking your generation to the global level. And it is having a base in IKS, Indian Education System. Right? Indian Knowledge System, sorry. Is it required now? Yes. But I'll tell you something, policy, when it goes to the public, there will be a lot of resistance also. So it's better you involve the public in the policy so that the public accepts it. And it's not easy, by the way. So let me tell you, it has to be a research done with the intellectuals, but also work with those people who are not intellectuals. So there's a lot of things I'll not go into detail, but I'll actually stop here and maybe take 2 or 3 questions about how Chanakya made public policy.
Good evening, sir. So, coming to Chanakya's public policy, the very first shloka of the Arthashastra, it says, Arthamulam Rajyam, which means, translates into the source of economic prosperity is the state. So, do you see now in the present day, it is not the state that is leading, but it is the business and the corporate that is leading. So how can we, reconcile that with today?
So let me tell you, can you just repeat the Sanskrit one again?
It goes like this: Sukhasya Moolam Artha, so Sukhasya Moolam Dharma, which means the source of, the fount of all happiness is a dharmic or an ethical life, and Dharma Moolam Artha, which means...
Please understand, this is not a policy, this is a philosophy. Understand the difference? I will explain to you. Please sit, sir. So what is the philosophy of Chanakya? Did it become a public policy? Public policy is different. Philosophy is different. Like, let me complete that. Dharmasya moolam arthaha. So dharma is not religion. Huh? Let's consider for discussion, dharma means good work, dharmic karya. You do some social activity, some donation, charity, dharmic. But for that also you require money. Isn't it true? Dharmasya moolam arthaha. One commentator wrote so nicely, without money you can't even do good work. True or no? This is a philosophy or a policy? It's a philosophy. Everybody may not agree, right? But the day it becomes policy, you are compelled to do it. For example, CSR, is it a policy? It's a corporate policy by the government. Full form of CSR? How many of us studied it? What does it mean? See, this is specific. It is not generic philosophy. Sabko daan dena chahiye. Correct? Dharma se moolam artha. No. If you start a company, you are bound by the law. Isn't it true? Especially you are starting a company in India. What is that? 2% has to go for welfare activity. Initially the system was, let's say you are a company, corporate, right? You give taxes, the government will give the welfare amount to that public. Let's say school, education, hospital, whatever, But they say, why always use my route? You can use this route, good or bad. But there are people who don't believe it in philosophically. And they use CSR for manipulation. Good or bad. So policy may not be accepted by everybody. But everybody may have their own philosophy. Isn't it true? Like people say, I believe that money is everything. Maybe. In fact, I have seen industrialists telling me, without money you can't serve the nation also. Right or wrong? Think about it. Without money you can't even serve the nation. Right or wrong? How many rights? Again, debate. How many wrongs? I believe it's wrong. I may not have money, but I have time to give. True or no? See, we have to study India in detail. Like, for example, we don't understand the difference between 2 words. Dan and Dakshina. We mix it up. I can give lot of types of charity, Dan, isn't it true? I'll give a few words. Like for example, Samay Dan. Am I coming here for money? If I'm losing money. Okay. But it's not Dan. It's Vidya Dan, hai na? Rakta Dan. Mata Dan. Imagine, voting is also a charity. You select your leader. Then, most important in our Indian culture, especially in our social institutions, it's called Kanya Dan. I mean, you're giving a daughter to the next family, and it is not giving a daughter who is a physical form with all the values and cultures, isn't it? In fact, in our culture, it's said the greatest thing that you can do is to give your life into somebody and then give to somebody. True? So tell me one thing. Now let's go back to the philosophy. Without money, you can't serve a nation. So you understand? But the moment it becomes a policy, you are compelled to do it. And Indians are fantastic in finding loopholes. निकालना है तो कैसे भी निकालेंगे. In fact, I was training the IRS officers, Indian Revenue Service, which is responsible for getting money from the public, public policy. You know what they told me, the Director General? Very interesting. Indians are fantastic in finding loopholes. Any scam anywhere in the world, you will find an Indian there. It's not about India. What I'm saying is that we know, policy hai to kya? How to find? That's why Gandhiji was such a major hit. Will not pay taxes. I like it, come on. Britishers thought, what is the big thing about salt tax? It was the policy, remember? But the public opposed it, and you had a great leader who said, okay, Gandhiji had a lot of followers, and an empire fell. One last point, anybody? Yeah, please.
First of all, thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. It's been brainstorming and thought-provoking. My simple thought is that, since you have been speaking on leadership and public policy, I would like you to take up the character of Hitler and for you to deconstruct him differently from how the general public sees him.
Very nice one. So I'll tell you, you're specifically speaking about Hitler. You know, I'll tell you, I studied Hitler a lot. And I've been to Germany. What is the general perception about Hitler in India? देखो ध्यान से सुनो. This is Anvikshiki. What is the perception about Hitler in India? Again, not right or wrong. Your perception about him. Dictator? Good leader, bad leader? I'll tell you something. See, you'll be surprised. This is the American way of looking at Hitler. Hitler was India's greatest friend. I'll give you a few examples. You know, there's a great leader called Subhash Chandra Bose. He was fighting the British through an Indian National Army formed outside India. He went to Hitler. Are you aware of it? And what did Hitler do? And now please understand, see how the perspective changes. And he gave a gift. See, now suddenly you see Hitler's perception changes. I'm again not saying right or wrong. Hitler gifted Subhash Chandra Bose the greatest scientific invention of that generation called submarine. पता है आपको? It's like I've developed everything. By the way, Hitler was the greatest engineering talent promoter in the world at that time. It's not easy for a corporal, Havaldar, to become the head of the state. Now coming back, one thing which I personally don't agree is the genocide of the Jews. Correct? So we say he did all those things. But do you know what happened? Reality. Why did he hate the Jews? You should study history. Again, we don't have time. Americans are controlled by Jews even today. American economy. Do you know this? So coming back, same Hitler may have good and bad points. But let me tell you, in Germany itself, he is considered as a marvel. Not that he is an ideal. Remember the difference. He is not an ideal leader. But for India, even today, Germany is a very interesting partner. Try public policy and read. For example, there is a university in Germany where I go and teach. It's called Heidelberg University. And I was surprised, the librarian gave me a book of Arthashastra in Germany, in German language. And you know what the librarian told me? Hitler used Arthashastra techniques in World War I and II. I mean, II, of course. So I said, okay, I never knew this dimension. Again, I'm not promoting Hitler. But since you asked that particular question, let me just tell you about our wrong hero, Duryodhan. Mahabharata, Duryodhan. In fact, my guru always tells me this, Please understand, Mahabharata talks about the greatness of the wicked and the weakness of the great. So was Duryodhana great? But he had a lot of goodness. He was an ideal leader. He was a great paymaster. Many people don't know. And he died healthy, without any disease. And I don't consider him great. On the other side, the Pandavas also had weaknesses, isn't it true? So coming back to the specific question, Hitler can be looked at various dimensions. What he did may not be ideal, but you cannot write him off. It's a part of a history that Germany is still proud of. And you know what Germans did? Have you seen the German flag? What is the color? We have three Tiranga. Black is at the top. Why? They announced after the World War saying that we are sorry to what we did with Jews, but we are a great country. You go to Germany, engineers from Germany are the best in the world. Isn't it true? By the way, Germany still gives free education to all. Learn from India. Last question, please.
Hello, sir. I have not read the Arthashastra, but whatever I have known from Chanakya Niti, he seems to be like a more realist than an idealist. So, what if we all follow a realist path and the values or the ideals come down? And is there anything he said about amalgamation of realism and idealism? So that we maintain a balance between them.
Ideals become real and reality can become ideal. You know how India-Pakistan got split? Study history. It was a poem written by somebody around 100 years ago before the partition. So there's an ideal saying that we should have a separate state from a religion perspective. I don't remember the name, maybe. Can you believe? So maybe, I don't know. So imagine somebody writes an ideal hona chahiye. And you'll be surprised, is it reality or no? Today. I'll give you another ideal. And I always love this debate. Unfortunately, we don't have time today. Can India and Pakistan become one again? See, now please listen to your answers. Is it coming from a national spirit or what happened in 1947? I'm just asking a plain question. You don't have to agree. Can India, Pakistan become one again? I'm not asking you, should India, Pakistan become one again? Difference hai. Can India, Pakistan become one again? Don't explain. This is a very great debate. I will not get into that because we don't have time. I'm asking a simple question. Should का बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं. Political will की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं. Can India, Pakistan become one? I don't know. Is there a possibility? If a nation can get split, can a nation can become one? Yeah. And there are so many thousands of examples in the world. I'll give you another German example. Berlin Wall fell. Two countries divided became one again. I'm not telling we should do it. See, policy thinkers cannot become fanatic. Then you become, person only working on ideologies. But the reality is that it has become. Do you know that India was once split by the Britishers, they became one again, East Bengal and West Bengal? They split into two by the Britishers. And there's a big movement that they became one again. So what I'm saying is that, when we look at certain, why am I using a topic like, Pakistan? Because very sensitive. Public policy makers, the moment you start getting into emotional and my way of looking at it, you'll miss a point. Okay, now can we make Singapore as a part of our country? That is very nice example. See, Arthashastra, coming back to Chanakya, actually talks about economic models of buying out countries. Buying out countries, I'm not talking about conquering. In America, if you go down to South America, have you heard about this very famous place? A lot of Indians have settled there called Texas. Texas was not part of USA. They bought it out. So this is what public policy makers do. In fact, one of my students who is doing a PhD actually created, maybe, I don't know, ideal hai ya realist hai. He created a map of India. Akhanda Bharat. Include everything, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, everything as one country. Then I asked him one question. Is it ideal or real? You know what was his answer? It was real once, it's ideal today. But it can become real again tomorrow. Samajh rahe ho? So this is where you are, please understand what you like or dislike. But the reality of the world. In fact, I'll tell you, Bharatiyata. I'll just stop with this example. Bharatiyata, Indianness, is no more a national concept. I'll explain why. The land is shrinking. So if you look at Akhanda Bharat, Bharatiyata, we were like, we proudly say. Afghanistan, Kandahar was part of our culture. Takshashila was part of our culture and all those things. So, it so happened that when you look at all this Akhanda Bharat kind of a thing, the world is shrinking. India has become lost its land and all those things. I still want my land. Burma was part of India, everything is that. But you know what? I realized one thing. There are a lot of Indians who are actually real Indians, without having an Indian passport. True or no? I go to US so many times, I find they are so more committed to India than India in India, right? So then my guru gave a very nice definition. For me, Bharatiyata is not about geography or passport, it's a spiritual search. So you may be German with a white skin in some country, but you can still be a spiritual seeker, isn't it? So why am I saying that? Please define the terms as we go ahead. And therefore, I just want to wind up over here by telling that, public policy is such a beautiful subject. Chanakya connected reality and idealism together. And my PhD guide says, why are you doubting that an ideal state cannot be created? So this concept of a golden India or golden era was not an hypothesis. It was reality. I'll stop here with what we saw. Hyderabad ka jo Nizam tha na, he was the richest person in the world during British rule. Are you aware of this? So it's not like, we had to be the richest person only to be in America. During British rule, he had his private railways. He had his private aircraft. Have you heard about Darbhanga? Bihar, today we look at Bimaru. I don't know what public policy mein kya statement aata hai. Biharis are the best intellectuals in the world. The IT industry is actually controlled by them. Are you aware of it? What happened? Public policy ka example hai. Some other time I'll take it. The Bihar intellectual tradition got lost by one policy of the Britishers. Today we say a Bihari. Are what brilliant people. Darbhanga house is right there in the Britain, near the palace. Are you aware of it? Darbhanga was the richest princely state of this particular country. Hyderabad, we have forgotten that. So coming back, public policy can become a reality, and reality can become a public policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pillai, for taking time out. Requesting our wonderful Dean, Dr. Chetan Singhai, to felicitate him, please.